Anne-Marie.
Yes?
I'm in the mood for something Star Trek-y and Christmassy.
Suppose there's Generations.
Oh, yes, let's do that. Let's watch Generations.
Decorate it. It took all day.
Say Merry Christmas, Papa.
Merry Christmas.
See the presents? I love you, Father.
Humbug.
Come on, children, let's move back and give your father some room.
Cup of Earl Grey.
Thank you.
This one's for you.
Good afternoon, nephew.
Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Damn you, Merry Christmas. If I had my way, every idiot who went around with Merry Christmas on his lips would be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. I'll retire to Bedlam.
And that's how Generations should have played out.
Yes. Quite definitely.
Hello, folks.
Hello.
We're all in a Christmassy mood.
Yay.
All ready for the great celebration. But we have 2 episodes of Star Trek first. Ooh.
Yes.
We've had a bit of feedback, some very nice positive feedback from Rod Bell, who's at VilordSuch on Twitter. Said some very nice things. Apparently nearly spat his sweet out in the doctors. There we go. Glad we didn't end up wasting a sweet for you. And Pieman got in touch. He got a bit more stuff about yesterday's Enterprise, about the uniforms.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so, I was saying that they don't quite match the movie uniforms.
Yeah.
They're just the outer bit, not the shirt bit underneath. That part of the uniform was hard to make. Kirk's uniform had to be retailored in Generations, and as a result it looks pretty shoddy and ill-fitting. It does look different, certainly. If the collar was hard to make, Memory Alpha said something about vertical quilting done by an ultra-rare machine. That may explain why future iterations didn't have it. So there you go, that bit of the costume was too expensive. And he said, and yes, I notice these things on TV uniforms, but not on my wife's clothing, but so far I haven't been caught. Yes, you see, my mistake was to mention it on a podcast sat next to my wife.
Yeah, that wasn't very clever, was it, my darling?
Not really. I made a boo-boo. Okay, so let's hear what Trailer Man has to say about Captain's Holiday.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation, Captain Picard's holiday becomes a romantic adventure.
From the moment I met you, I knew you were going to be trouble.
A seductress lures him on a quest to find a weapon from the future.
Perhaps I should kill you and then take the disc.
But if it falls into enemy hands, it could spell disaster.
You will return what is ours.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
We think Trainer Man is ill.
We think he's got a cold.
Yeah, he's got a seasonal snuffle or something, because that doesn't sound like his normal...
No, not
impassioned...
Star Trek, The Next Generation.
Oh, no.
Poorly, Trailer
We
Man.
should have to send Santa's elves with cold medicine or some such. This is almost a bigger disaster as Santa not making it to deliver all the presents. Well, maybe not that bad, eh? There we go. How very odd, eh? But anyway, that's the trailer for Captain's Holiday, which I remember not enjoying much, but actually, as it turns out, it's not as bad as I remember it being.
I quite enjoyed this one.
I particularly like the first bits.
Yeah, Grumpy Picard is grumpy.
Yeah, it's excellent. Basically, there's some weird-looking aliens that appear on Riser, and it later transpires they're not Vogons, they're Vorgons, but I'll probably end up calling them Vogons at some point, but there we are. They're not quite as hideously ugly, but they do look very, very odd, and they've got these LCD things in their ears that move.
Very strange.
Yeah. Anyway, they're asking for Picard, but he's not on this planet. Picard's not there because he's been stuck in negotiations, very tough negotiations, and he's just returned from them and he's knackered.
They said they were trade negotiations, and it automatically made me think of
Phantom Menace.
I thought, no wonder the poor guy's knackered.
Looks stressed.
Yeah.
He's had to sit through Phantom Menace.
No wonder he needs a bloody holiday.
And nice touch. He walks onto the bridge and asks for Mr. Bennett to set a course, and Mr. Bennett is Guy Vardman. He's got a name. I wonder if his first name's Gordon. That would be good. And Troy points out that Picard needs a holiday.
Yes.
But they realise that that's not going to be very easy to bring about. First of all, this is the teaser. First of all, we have Dr. Crusher trying to persuade him to take some shore leave. And then Riker does a very hot sell on Risa, mainly because it involves lots of scantily clad women.
Well, as we see later on, also scantily clad men, but wearing ugly chiffon things that, anyway.
Yeah. Whenever Next Gen tries to do sexy,
just doesn't.
It never quite works, does it?
Too much gold lame and chiffon, basically.
Yeah. Yes, we'll get on to the designs in a bit. But the scenes on the Enterprise are real fun.
Yes.
And there's some great bits. There's a bit with Troy eventually persuades Picard to go on the basis that she threatens that her mother is going to be joining them shortly, which is a great scene. And when Picard says, Riker, a word in your ear, and they leave, and Troy goes, yes!
Yeah, I like
lovely,
that. Yeah.
But having persuaded him to go, Riker then asks Picard to bring back a Horgan. Oh, yeah.
Makes me think of Hulk Horgan, I'm afraid.
Hulk Horgan.
Yeah.
My life.
Sorry.
So Picard goes off to his shore leave, and to begin with, he's wearing this weird corrugated shirt.
Oh, it's ugly!
MacGuffin,
all the costumes in this, well, nearly all of them, are ugly, and that is just,
very odd.
One side is plain and the other side is corrugated or pleated, or it's just really, really ugly.
It's not good. But it gets worse.
Oh, much.
By the time he's relaxing in the sun reading his boring books.
Oh, with shiny silver Speedos on.
He's wearing shiny silver Speedos that leave nothing to the imagination.
Nothing.
The goggles, they do nothing.
No. Particularly with the way they position the camera. It's like right at his crotch. It's just like, no, I don't want to see that. Lumpy, shiny silver Speedos. No, go away.
Yes, and a whole load of chest hair. Was that an improvement?
The chest hair is much better than the lumpy Speedos.
Indeed. And pretty much as soon as he beams down, he gets kissed.
Yeah.
By someone who turns out to be Vash. And Rom turns up in a tropical shirt, except it's not Rom from Deep Space Nine.
No.
It's Sovak, but he's played by Mac's unpronounceable surname.
Grodenchik.
Yeah, thank you. But he is wearing a hideous John Nathan Turner style shirt.
Oh, he is!
It's weird seeing Ferengi wearing holiday kit.
Yes.
But basically Vash kisses Picard to try and put Sovak off. Picard's not enjoying himself. He's trying to read, and there's various things that's stopping him. Keeps being bothered by women, but it transpires that that's because this Horgan that he bought for Riker, which he's got next to him, is actually a symbol of wanting Nookie, basically.
Yeah. I'm honey, so honey, honey, honey.
Oh, splendid. Anyway, back to the story. We have to pause the podcast for a bit. No.
Not for that, you.
Oh, clearly, because Star Trek's far more important. Actually, you're right. Anyway, before we lose all the listener.
My name is Joval. I'm employed here. Is there anything you require to make your stay a more pleasant one? You find me amusing.
No. It's just that you are the fifth woman to ask me that question this morning. All I require is to sit in the sun, read my book, alone.
And afterward?
I really hadn't thought that far ahead.
Then may I suggest a swim followed by a massage?
Some other time, perhaps.
I don't understand. You say you wish to be alone, yet you carry the Horgan.
Well, I just purchased it. Why? Are you implying this has some special meaning?
The Horgan is the Rycian symbol of sexuality. To own one is to call forth its powers. To display it is to announce you are seeking Jamaharon.
Riker.
Do you seek Jamaharon?
I don't even know what it means. The Horgon is for a friend.
I see. Someone close to you.
That's right.
Someone you love.
I wouldn't go that far.
Rom comes over as well and bothers Picard. Okay, no, sorry, not Rom, Sovak. But he seems to think that Picard is in on some plan about a disc. And Picard almost comes to blows about it. And then Vash comes over and explains it's because of her kissing Picard that Sovak thinks that they're in cahoots. I do like that word, cahoots. Got to use that word more often in 2013. So Vash introduces herself. Then the two Vorgons appear, and they say they're from the 27th century. Basically, Picard's naffed off to his room because he's cheesed off with being interrupted, but then you've got the Vorgons in his room. Oh, dear. And they say they're looking for the Toxutats. They've come from your future. Actually, it's a shame they don't talk like that, really. Yeah, they're looking for this device that can halt nuclear reaction in a star. Woo!
What would it do? Why?
Yeah, well, it'd presumably be a weapon, wouldn't it?
It turns stars off.
It's like Generations, where your man, Dr.
Oh, Soren.
Soren, well remembered. Dr. Soren explodes.
I always want to say Soren Lawrenson.
And he gets the...
Charlie and Lola.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
And he's deactivating Sons using a device that he gets from the Sisters of Duras, yes. I seem to remember. Yes. We can't get away from Generations today, can we?
No.
Anyway.
Sorry.
Picard goes to see Vash because she's dropped a disc in his pocket and he's realised that it's hers. And she did that so that your man Sovak couldn't find it on her. It's details of where this Toxutat is. So they set off using information on this desk to find the Toxutat, and they're all in quite fetching Indiana Jones gear.
That is the only good...
The best costumes in the entire
Well,
thing.
actually, Rom's... But it's not Rom. Not Rom. Cosplay Rom's later costume.
Well, he's wearing a usual Ferengi uniform later.
He's better, but yeah.
Sovak tries to hold them up with a pistol, but they de-arm him, and Picard punches him in the face.
And it's a nice punch. It is. It's one of those ones that you can just tell that the character of Picard went, that was satisfying.
So they set off, and they have to camp at one point. Not as in that camply, but, bivouac down, the phrase is. And one thing leads to another, and they end up snogging. Which, to be honest, happens a wee bit too soon, but that's always the problem with it. I mean, this keeps coming up. Romance does not work in 40 minutes of a Star Trek episode, because you can't really build up enough of a relationship. But there we go. That's just me.
Who says it's romance? He's gone on holiday. He's gone to Rise.
Be holiday. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's yeah. But you got the impression he was trying to avoid that to begin with, but there we are. He's obviously decided he does want some... Splendid.
Yeah, I just think that the sort of woman he's attracted to has... got to have a brain as well. And so he wasn't attracted to the others.
Yeah, I don't know. She never quite seems his type, though, to me, anyway.
Maybe
she's got the brain, but
she's
too,
just his type enough.
Too chaotic, I don't know. But there we go. They begin digging in the location, and the Vorgons turn up. And Sovak turns up. But it transpires they can't find it, so the Vorgons bugger off. Picard and Vash go back empty-handed to the resort. Riker contacts Picard, who says that he needs to stand by for Transporter Code 14. Bam, bam, bam. So there we go. That'll come up later on, won't it? And Picard stops Vash before she sneaks out, and he's worked out that actually she got it earlier on in the adventure, before she'd even seen him. And the whole idea was to put Sovak off the scent by turning up with Picard, doing the digging, not finding it. Oh dear, what a shame. But the reason why they didn't find it was because she'd already got it. It was a cunning plan, but Picard saw through it. And but then the Vorgons appear again, and Vash says, well, why? Because Picard's got to return it to the future people since it's from the future. But Vash says, well, why do you trust them? Picard effectively asks for some identification. They haven't got any. They zap Vash. But then Picard gets the Enterprise to do the Transporter Code 14, which means it sort of blasts the Toxutat into something or other because it disappears.
I think it's Code 14 is beam something into space where you then detonate
but
it.
We like explosion right by them, so that can't be just... If it was beamed into space...
Oh, must be exploded and the transporter beam contains the explosion.
Yeah, weird. But that's never really unpacked, but there we go.
Like like when a bomb goes off, controlled explosion.
You wouldn't want to set off one of those 14s by accident, would you? If it went off in your pants, it'd be very painful. There we go. And basically, the episode winds up with Picard and Vash having a bit more of a snog. He's worried about where she's going next because it's dangerous. Picard beams back up to the Enterprise, tells Riker he's not particularly happy with him. And, that's it, really. End of adventure.
Yeah.
So it's okay. It's not as bad as I remember. It's got some nice funny bits, particularly at the start.
I like Sarky Picard, and
Sarky Picard.
And he stays Sarky for quite a lot of this.
He does, doesn't he? Yes. I mean, Ira Stephen Bear wasn't particularly happy. It was he that wrote it. He wasn't happy because actually this wasn't the story he wanted to write at all. Originally, he wanted to write a story about Picard facing his greatest fear, which was going to be him being made an admiral and no longer being captain of the Enterprise and getting old, basically. Which is kind of what happened in the Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and the whole thing about Kirk ending up very happily getting demobbed back to being a captain again because he didn't like being an admiral. So I suppose you could argue that just be retreading old ground.
Yeah.
But Gene Roddenberry didn't like the idea because apparently nobody in the future worries about getting old. Yet again, bollocks. And Patrick Stewart didn't like the idea because he didn't like the idea of him getting old. I rather suspect he still doesn't, considering the company he keeps. But there we go. He asked particularly for something that had action and sex in it. Roddenberry asked Bear to write something that was set on this planet that he'd come up with, which was Risa, which was a sexy planet of sexy people. So you can see why Roddenberry liked that.
Is it just me, or is Roddenberry creepy?
He's a bit, isn't he? Yes, but there we go. And Vash, apparently, according to Bear, was an attempt to bring in a ballsy woman who's not your typical Star Trek woman. A clear thinker, both in terms of what she did in her own life and sex and the whole bit. Which is nicely put.
The whole bit.
The whole bit. I particularly like the whole bit, and we enjoyed the whole bit immensely. So, yes, it is a bit of a mess in the end. It's not very satisfactorily put together right at the end. I mean, this Code 14 business is just techno-babbly solving the problem, isn't it? But there's a nice bit of duplicitousness in the way that everybody's trying to con everybody else to an extent. Could have been more of that, I guess. The basic problem definitely is the design work. Risa looks very much like a set all the way through. There's no escaping it. There's never any sense that they're really outside in an environment.
No.
He may as well have spent the entire thing in a hotel room.
Yeah, that's
for the look of it. And they're not supposed to be, but a lot of the time, well, all the time, that's what it looks like. Even the cave sequences are not really well done, are they? It's very naff.
The costumes are awful.
The costumes, for the most part, particularly those pants, are awful.
But also, I mean, did you see what the Rysian men wore?
I wasn't looking at the Rysian men. I was looking at the Rysian women and their bum
They
cheeks.
were wearing ick peach Speedos with those horrible chiffon things on top.
Right. Yeah, well, the women were wearing the chiffon things as well, but yeah, it's all very odd and not very pleasant.
Ick peach Speedos suit no one. Just thought I'd make that point.
There you go. So if you've got a pair, burn them now! Otherwise, Anne-Marie will be upon you.
But not in that way.
Not in a good way either. In a burn the heretic sort of way, I expect. Oh, we've discovered a new heresy. Quick, write to the Pope. Actually, you can tweet him now, can't you? Dear Pope, I think that Speedo...
Ick peach Speedo.
Ick peach Speedos ought to be declared a heresy unto the Lord. Yours infallibly, Anne-Marie. Yeah. The Rise, of course, returns in Deep Space Nine's Let He Who Is Without Sin.
Is that bollocks one where the weather goes wrong?
It is indeed bollocks. That one, they try and make Rise seem more real by having a bit of beach work, actually, outside broadcast stuff, but it still looks shit, I seem to remember. And, of course, Max Grodenchik returns a couple of times as various characters, but obviously he's most well known for being Rom. And we get Vash returning in Cupid and Deep Space Nine's Q-less. I'd forgotten that she only came back once more in Next Gen, actually. I thought she came back a lot more often than that, but clearly not. So yes, anything you wanted to add about Captain's Holiday?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was jolly enough.
It's because it's been so long since I've seen it, it was almost like watching it for the first time, although I did remember as soon as they turned up that the Vogons were baddies. But that aside, because it had been so long, I was just genuinely able to enjoy the story.
Yeah.
Whereas, I think, had I watched it sooner, I don't
remember all the double crosses.
And it doesn't bear a rewatch, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if it's been long enough, it's good fun.
In some ways, I mean, this is the sort of thing that may have worked better as a Next Generation movie, because they could have made it a lot more action-packed, and, you know, they would have had the budget for it to look more realistic as a place, as an environment. They could have gone somewhere interesting to film, Hawaii or somewhere. Whereas this, for the 40 minutes of episodic television, it was too optimistic in what it could pull off, really. But there we go. So we have some feedback from Mr. Pieman.
Hello, Pieman.
This episode isn't high art.
No, this is true.
But it is fun.
Yep.
More of a caper than an adventure. Rolls along at a decent pace and has a few laughs. It will never be one of the best, but it is enjoyable. Picard also learns an important life lesson. If Riker asks you to pick him up a gift on holiday, space Google it first.
Yes.
Yes. Never trust Riker. Jolly good. So that wasn't a bad start. Splendid. Let's go and find out what our second episode is like. Tin Man.
I seem to remember at least has a shit in it, even if it's not a shit episode.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation, a telepath leads a critical mission to save an alien.
Direct mind-to-mind contact is our only hope.
The race is on to stop an enemy threat from destroying it.
If you interfere, we will destroy you as well.
Now, they face an explosive showdown.
Commander, we are prepared to defend the life of the alien.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
Tin Man.
Doesn't start well, does it, really? In the trailer, Picard says it's tedious.
Yes, they're on a tedious mission. No shit.
Yeah. And this guy appears and it's all very, oh, hello, lovely to see you. Why did you sneak up on me and shit? And then, you've got Mr. All-Bran.
Tam All-Bran.
Yeah.
Odd eyes. They'd already got contacts in to make his eyes look weird, but he looked very strange.
He did, yes. And he's going to be the expert on the mission.
Apparently he's a prodigy. He's a fire-starter. Twisted fire-starter. Yeah.
Yeah. He's an ex-patient of Troy's.
Yes, doesn't say much for Troy's abilities, does it? He's not so bad, but oh dear. I mean, it doesn't help that he's got a crimpoline trousers on.
Oh.
What is it? All this season, the costume designer has just loved their crimpoline effect.
Oh, I don't
It's
know.
the future. No.
No.
No more than corduroy is.
No, it's just shite, isn't it, really? Talking of shite, that's what they've come to save, rescue, make first contact with.
Yes.
It's a turd.
And it actually sounds like Geordie describes it as a shit at one point.
It does,
as well.
yeah.
They call it Tin Man. The Vega probe found it orbiting Stromgren.
Looks like some kind of ship.
Yeah, it does. So they're racing to the shit, and it's a race between the Enterprise and the Romulans.
Who are just in there just to add some fake tension, because they're really not anything made it. Initially you think, why aren't they using Tomahawk for this? That would be fun. But then the guy who's the Romulan commander, you barely see him anyway. They're just there as token bad guys. It's rubbish.
My thought of why don't they use Tomahawk was actually that otherwise he's the only Romulan commander
You ever see? Yeah, there is that too. But even so, it would have been a complete waste of Andreas Katsoulis just the few scenes on the view screen with, to twirl his moustache, basically. It's just shit.
It would, but the guy there gets a bit shit. I mean, he could have made more of the lines he was given. He could have been more of a presence, and he wasn't.
Well, there's not that much in it for him to say that.
No, but if someone of Andreas Katsoulis' calibre had been in the role, they would have made more of it than that guy did.
The Romans get disposed of really easily as well. When the first Roman ship gets blown up by the same visual effect that's used in Star Trek the Motion Picture, for heaven's sake. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
And the second one just gets bashed away along with the Enterprise and never heard of again. So they're just, off with a whimper.
Yeah. But then that, I think, is supposed to show the power of the shit.
The power of the shit. Behold the power of the shit. Yeah. Sometimes it looks a bit like a hedgehog even. Other times it just looks like a giant turd floating in space. Nice design work, Star Trek.
What's really awful, though, is bearing in mind that by now this idea that it is a turd is firmly wedged in your brain. When Tam All-Bran goes aboard and he puts his hand on the tip and it goes in it and it goes And you're just like, ew, you're putting your hand in poo.
Anal probing.
Oh, no, it's not good. It really isn't good. I was interested in some of All-Bran's story. In that the talk about Betazoids ordinarily becoming telepathic in puberty, and him being one of the ones who's born with them switched on, and that makes them different. And normally, they fail. It doesn't work. It's basically the equivalent to having a disability, and he manages to cope with it.
There are one or two nice moments, sort of one-to-one moments with him. He's probably the best thing about the story, to be honest. It's the plot that he's in.
Yes, he is an interesting character.
Slight. That's the problem.
The plot's rubbish.
Yeah.
He is an interesting character.
And you know right from the start what's going to happen. I mean, it's all clearly signposted. He's going to end up inside the poo.
Yeah.
In
the shit.
In the shit. Steering the shit. I've got shit to deal with, man.
Maybe that's why his name's All-Bran.
Sorry, gotta run. All these lines they could have used. I should have done.
Yeah. Actually, I have to say, one of the things that annoyed me about this episode, beyond the plot, was, I think probably I noticed it because the plot was shit. And if the plot had been really good and the tension had been good, I wouldn't have been so aware. Is this scene with Geordie and these two other people in engineering trying to fix things?
Two extras who have been forbidden to speak, so it makes for a very strange conversation Geordie has.
It's an odd conversation, and the guy's there primed with this thing that's going
Russell,
to make
poke that in there!
And it's going to make a little light shine. And he presses some buttons. It just looks so totally and utterly fucking unconvincing.
It's terrible, because they're not allowed to talk, and they're clearly not the greatest extras in the world either. And
it's just really awful. It's just one of those
worse
things.
Than that, though.
Yeah.
The biggest, I think, next to the costume designer again, the worst thing about this story is the music is bizarre.
Oh, it is.
When it's not making strange whale song noises.
You noticed the whale song as well? Yeah.
We're twiddling away on our flute from time to time randomly.
Yeah.
And then whenever the Romulans appear, really deafening music. It's
totally over the top as well. Really bad. Yeah, I noticed the whole whale song thing. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that's where you're going with that, is it? Right. And I'm afraid, I know this predates Babylon 5, but I'm afraid I watched the whole thing going, yeah, you're a telepath, you've got black contact lenses in. Oh, look, it's a fall-on ship. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Babylon 5 does all of this better. This is just crap.
Yes, it is the sort of precursor to a Vorlon ship, and he's a precursor to a Psychop. There's one point where he's sort of having he's answering Riker's questions before Riker can answer them, and his accusations before he actually speaks them. And it's just like, now, if this was Bester, he'd be,
that would be fun.
Really, Riker? I think that's anatomically impossible.
Yeah, it was just...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. He was an interesting. I mean, the episode might have worked better if the dialogue had been better scripted. It's not just the fault of the plot. Actually, I think the dialogue fails a lot too. I mean, there's some potentially interesting dialogue between All-Bran and Data, and if that had been better written, I think it might have been more moving and more philosophical. Made you think more. And actually you sit there going, yeah, I saw that coming 7 miles off. Fuck off.
It's about 10 minutes of plot.
If that. Yeah. I mean, really.
Believe it or not, the guys who wrote this had already used this plot for an award-winning short story in Amazing Stories. So short story, probably, that's fine. And then they somehow or other fleshed it out into an entire novel called Tin Woodman.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the Tin Man business is never completely explained. I mean, the Tin Man's the guy without the heart, was it?
And that's what Tam All-Bran is.
And that's what Tam All-Bran, yeah, but it's never really sort of made sense of.
And no, it doesn't work with a shit anyway.
No.
Would we feel... I suppose the one question that I ask is, would we feel differently about this story if Gomtu had looked different? If Gomtu hadn't looked like a turd?
No, that's the least of this story's problems, I think. It's the lack of story, the fairly perfunctory dialogue for the most part.
Yeah, which it is.
And just so slow and... very poor. Very poor.
It is, yeah. really? I had to have more
Ironically, this script, the writers submitted this script because they'd seen Samaritan Snare and thought that was rubbish. Compared to this, Samaritan Snare is a work of fucking art.
Oh, unless it depends why. Bearing in mind the unsympathetic portrayal.
No, that you could understand why that spurred them into writing a more sympathetic,
because it's
damaged character.
Yeah, because it's.
That's the part of it that works.
Yeah, the portrayal.
It just needed a better story around it. And better dialogue.
The portrayal of disability is different, rather than failure or wrong or bad.
Yeah, it's really the scenes with Mr. All-Bran and Data.
Yeah,
they're the best scenes in the entire thing.
That works, and particularly when he talks about not being able to shut up all the voices, it really made me think of sensory overload. And then when he finally merges or melds, whatever you're going to call it, with Tin Man, that's the thing that can block out the voices, which is the equivalent to our son tapping.
Yeah, or going into a sensory room.
It's creating something that he can latch onto to use as a block, which is what he needed his entire life. And I have to say, I think it's very sympathetically written. I mean, when you think back to the...
It's a shame it had to be so boring.
It's like, why can't they take sympathetic portrayal of a character that you've got here and then put it in one of the two stories that does really badly when it comes to...
Well, they did it with the Defector, let's face it, so it can be done.
Oh, it can be done. But, yeah, I'm just thinking back to Lal.
And I suspect actually it'd be done much better in the next episode we're going to cover.
Oh, what's that then?
Well, there's a link, but shall we hear what Pieman has to say first?
Oh, yes, please.
Here we go. I think I probably like the concept of this episode more than the execution.
Yep.
Yes. As it is essentially a very slow chase to an object.
Yeah, it is.
And you know damn well what's going to happen when they get there as well. But I do like the idea of a living ship. The chase itself is quite interesting. And the tension keeps you watching.
No, I went on Twitter a couple of times, ate crisps and drank beer.
Both episodes are enjoyable enough, but not classics. Probably look a bit weak compared to some of the greats we've had of late, but by season 7 I reckon these two will look pretty good.
Yeah, compared to Crusher Shags a Ghost,
Yes. I mean, certainly Captain's Holiday was...
Oh, no, I like that one. Yeah. But this is shit in more ways than one.
It is. Shit floating in space. Okay, so next time we're covering Hollow Pursuits.
Is that Barclay?
Barclay!
Yay, Bagsy!
Oh, arse. Who's probably one of my favourite characters in Star Trek, so I'm really looking forward to seeing this again. It meant an awful lot to me watching that one, so I'm looking forward to that one a lot. And The Most Toys, which I seem to remember being a good story as well. Kivas Fajo. Ooh.
Oh, yes, I remember him.
Yes, indeed. So there we go. Some gems to look forward to in the new year. We're planning on recording Thursday the 3rd of January, so if you've got any feedback, do let us know what you think, either of those two episodes or the ones we covered today, or let us know what idiots you think we are. You can contact us via the Geek Planet Online forums, and worth visiting Geek Planet Online at the moment because they're putting up sort of Advent
stockingy things.
There may even be a really feeble effort by us, and by feeble I mean Tin Man level of feeble.
Pile of shit.
Yeah, arguably. I'm not the greatest photoshopper in the world, but there we go. Also, you can contact us on Twitter. I'm Rev_org.
I'm Ammo_purple.
We has a Tumblr site, bOrgCast.tumblr.com, full of lots of fun pictures.
Is the USS Hood going to be in it?
Already done, actually, because, of course, this is the second time the Hood appears in the series. So there you go. Also, you can contact me via email. Send your MP3s if you want to. revpeterorgan@yahoo.co.uk. But in the meantime, we wish you a very Merry Christmas.
And a Happy New Year.
And we'll catch you then. God bless. Cheerio, bye.
Bye. The bOrgCast is brought to you by those lovely purple people at Geek Planet Online. The song at the opening of this podcast was written and performed by Adam Buxton and is used with his kind permission.